There's an old joke. How did Canada pick its name? They were picking letters out of a hat, and they went C-A-N-A-D-A.
Psst. Avast there. It be too late to alter course, mateys. Ye come seeking adventure in salty old podcasters, eh? Sure, ye come to the proper place. But keep a weather eye open, mates, and hold on tight, with both hands if you please. There'll be foul language ahead, and adult humor, and Davy Jones waiting for them what don't obey.
Dead men tell now tale.
That little
I know it sounds sorted, but you'll be rewarded when at last I am given my dues. And injustice deliciously squared, be prepared.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 64 of Three Sheets to the Mouse. We're five average guys with a love for all things Disney, and joining me on this week's show are four guys who are all aboot the moose. Tim. Adam.
Yo.
Mikey.
Bonsoir.
And tonight we have a special guest, live direct from Canada itself, Storybook Julius from Storybook Radio. Julius, welcome.
Lard 100 Gisabai, that was a great intro.
What?
Can you translate that to American, please?
Did he say something in Lumberjack?
I think he said it
said
that had a little bit of the Newfie in it, didn't it?
That was definitely from Newfoundland, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of audiobooks that take place.
It's been a while since I heard somebody speak like that. We used to have friends that live in Newfoundland.
Out there, their greeting is, what are you at?
We're here to talk to you about Disney parks, Disney booze, and a little bit of debauchery in between. So sit back, relax, grab a Molson, your favorite hockey sweater, and enjoy the adult side of Disney with Three Sheets to the Moose.
Oh, jeez.
You gotta record that over.
So, Julius, let's start with you tonight. Since you're a guest, what are you drinking?
I've got, despite having to work tomorrow, I've got two drinks with me. I have from Canada, Crown Royal's Northern Harvest Rye, which is excellent. Just a few drops of water in there. But Sam Adams is my favorite brewery, so I do have a Sam Adams with me as well. So
That, you know what, that Northern Harvest Rye is one of the only 100% rye whiskeys that I've seen on the market. I was gonna get some Canadian whiskey, but I decided to go Canadian beer. So I've got La Fin du Monde from Unibroue up in Quebec. They're in Chambly.
Well, say it how we say it. Come on, Unibrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty
Unibrow.
much.
Yeah,
From Unibrow.
That's basically Frida.
Yeah.
You can
Unibrow.
find this at the Canada Pavilion. It's really good. It's some of my favorite Canadian beer.
yeah, I've had a couple of those before. They're good. They have some good strong ones too.
Yeah, it's 9%.
It'll get you there.
Mikey, what do you got tonight?
I'm sipping on a little bit of the monkey shoulder this evening. A little bit of scotch. Thought I'd,
Dolphin Smooth Monkey Shoulder.
jump in there and have me.
Turn on that Donson smooth the conversation again, please.
So yeah, that's what I got. I got the monkey shoulder.
That, you know what? That's a remedy that you can deal with your doctor.
Oh, I rub a ointment.
Okay.
Some of that capsaicin. The tube looks a lot like my enhancement cream, so you got to be careful what you're putting where.
As long as you don't totally mix it up and get preparation agent.
Oh, I was going to say I once
good.
put it on my roids, and the damn thing I thought I was Pinocchio with my ass or something. It was it's a bad deal.
Turned really pink and large, and it was just hanging out there.
I was able to spin like a top.
For those that don't know, the Monkey Shoulder whiskey is actually named after an ailment named for the malt turner. So when they would malt the whiskey, they would have to dry it, but in order to dry it, you have to turn it with these like shovel things. And so the guys would be like digging down, and they'd have one shoulder lower than the other, and that became known as monkey shoulder. So Tim, what do you got tonight?
Well, yesterday we went to a place that opened up about a year ago by us called Pocono Brewing Company. They brew their own beer on site, and it's actually really good. We had a sampling. We did a flight of all.
You didn't do a flight. You did a cross-country tour.
Yeah, well, they asked us how we wanted to fly. It says, like, can we get all of them? And it was 12 beers.
There were
So
two
can we
of
get
us.
a flight?
There were 2 of us.
All the
4 ounces,
flights.
48 ounce worth of beer between 2 people. That's 24 ounces. That's one tall boy. That's one.
Yeah, that's not a lot.
wasn't a lot.
It's not terribly a
And
lot.
some of them were ciders that were like 4 and 5. Nothing. I don't think anything was over 7%.
Yes, there was. That's the one I didn't buy. It was the 8%. And I'm like, if I record drinking that,
Oh yeah,
I'm
that's
not going to make it through.
He wanted to buy a growler of that because they sell everything they make in growlers, and they have a limited selection in 6-packs. And I've got it's called Wally Wilson American IPA, and it's named after a town up here in Pennsylvania called Wilsonville, which is just south of Lake Wallenpaupack. It's
I
really
thought
good.
it was somewhere between Dennis the Menace and Leave It to Beaver.
That's probably where they got the original name.
I mean, yeah, that's what it sounds like. Wally Wilson sounds like a character that would, be a crossover from both. both
from
TV
a
shows.
50s sitcom.
Yeah.
Nice. What? So it's an American IPA?
Yeah. Very hoppy. I love hoppy beers, but I'm allergic to it. So if I start getting congested halfway through the show, you know why.
They'll pay the price in the morning.
Yep.
Adam, what do you got tonight?
I also have Pocono Brewing Company, but I went with the Pocawatchini, or however you say it. It basically means 2 hills with a creek running through it. It's basically what the Poconos are named for, and it's just a golden ale, and it's actually really damn tasty. We liked everything there except for their Nitro IPA, I think.
I hate
Yeah,
that.
they had a
That's kinda
nitro
what-
version of this Wally Wilson, and it wasn't that good.
That's kind of what the La Fin du Monde is. It's kind of like a golden ale. I like that. I really
it's
do. It's
really
not,
tasty.
not overly hoppy, but just a good amount and, nice and crisp.
They had an
It's a
apple
little
cider.
bitter at the end. and
Yeah.
There's not. It's not that over. I'm not a fan of IPAs. I don't get bitter for bitter's sake. So I'd much prefer.
Oh, the
something
overly
like
hoppy.
Yeah.
How much hops can we stack into this brew? Yeah.
They-
When they hit like 60 IBUs, whatever that means. I don't know what that means, but like
International bitterness units.
yeah, it's,
We had to
it's
look that up
too
I
yesterday.
had to
much.
look it up yesterday.
Too much for me.
I think this one is like 38 or 40.
No, it's higher than that. Mine is like
Where's-
in the
hold on, I have a picture of the
40s.
list.
Yours is I want to say 60 to 70. And then
Oh yeah,
the
it's
Nitro
60. This one is actually 60.
So he's definitely going to pay.
And
the
yours is 5.
Yeah, I'm not about the hoppy IPA flavor. It just doesn't.
No,
do
no,
anything.
you're not. If it's yours is 5, it's not. You're not about those hops.
They had
I had
a
really nice
cider
one from.
that was really good, and it wasn't overly sweet, and it was like 6.7% ABV, which is high for a cider. It was
And
really
it was
good.
tart.
It was very
It was
tart.
actually like a tart cider. It was really tasty. We were
Can you
using that
really
as a
taste the
palate
alcohol in that
cleanser.
though?
Do what?
I'm sorry?
Julius?
In a cider like that, like, can you taste the alcohol more so than anything else? Because that's the only thing that bugs me about like a strong cider. or
No,
something.
it actually
Like, you
just
can really
tasted like
taste the
it
booze.
tastes like a regular cider.
Yeah, it was
That's
a very.
good.
Just
It was balanced.
it wasn't overly sweet like regular ciders are. It was tart. You could taste the cinnamon, the apple. It was really good.
Nice.
I never quite got into cider. It's
Me-
just not a
me either.
drink that I've liked.
But I liked that one.
I don't like sweet or overly sweet,
Mm-hmm.
and this
Yeah.
was nowhere near that. And then they had a brown chai ale. That was really good too.
That just sounds not good.
It almost tasted like a cider, but it wasn't.
a
Yeah,
brown
it was
chai.
called Fireside Apple Chai. It
it
was
was a
really
brown
good. It was a
ale.
brown ale. It was really good.
That might be good because you get like that spice from the chai tea.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. And brown ales tend to lend to like the coffee flavored drinks, the coffee flavored ales. I don't know. I'd give that. Look,
There was one they had.
I'll try anything once.
That was our favorite. It was they called it the Snickerfirkin.
The what?
Snickerfirkin. And then they
Bless you.
they're calling it a whiskey vice because what the guy did was he emptied a bourbon barrel and filled it with this beer, this vice, and let it sit. I think she said it was like 3 months, and it was so good.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Ultimate Epcot. All of us at 3 Sheets to the Mouse are glad to have you with us as we go through land by land, pavilion by pavilion, and choose the greatest and best of all Epcot. And now, for the safety of those around you, we ask that you grab your drink, walk slowly to the person next to you, and toast them. Welcome to Ultimate Epcot. So tonight, there's a reason we have Julius on tonight, and we're heading to the Great White North, Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Big, wide, where it snows 365 days a year.
Great White North.
Should I interject? Like, no, those are lies.
We're going to check out the Canadian Pavilion over at Epcot. So we are officially embarking on part 2 of our Ultimate Epcot that we started many episodes ago with Tim and Adam and we went through Future World. So we're going to go through World Showcase over the next few months. We're going to go through World Showcase. We're going to talk about all the pavilions and what's the best version of each. So we're going to create the Ultimate Canada right here and for you guys. So we thought no better way than to bring Storybook Julius, who is from Canada, across the border. He's friends with mooses.
Mm-hmm.
It would be mooses or meese?
Meese?
Moosin?
Moosin.
There was a comedian that had a whole bit about that. It was great. Yeah.
Big fan of beaver tails.
Yes.
That's a pastry. You'll get
Oh,
that
okay.
later.
I thought that was a new
that
kind
was
of waxing.
It is
I
a
wasn't gonna
pastry
go there.
from the Canadian capital of Ottawa. That's where you will find a beaver tail. Well, the authentic beaver tails, anyways.
And he also likes caribou. so
Coincidentally,
he's got
that's
all-
also where the mullet originated from. So,
Did it really?
mullet. I'm just joking.
So we're gonna head over to Canada. So Tim, why don't we talk a little bit about the history of Canada, not the country, the pavilion.
Oh, I was gonna say I didn't research the country now.
It was British
It was British, and then it was
and French.
and then... All right. So when Disney wanted to open the Canadian Pavilion, they actually went to the Canadian government and asked them for financial support to do it, and Canada pretty much told them no. Because they were concerned about
sorry.
the stereotypes that Disney wanted to put in the pavilion.
Oh, we're sorry. No, I'm sorry. Just can't do it.
Lumberjacks.
What stereotypes?
Wait. Disney was stereotypical with things? No.
No.
Wait, there are stereotypes about Canada?
I mean, look, to pull the shade out of the curtain here, Julius is not wearing plaid. I'm sorry, guys. He's not wearing plaid. He doesn't have an axe with him. He's not a lumberjack. But he does have a lumberjack.
What are those hats with the flaps and the fur in them?
I do
not-
have one of those.
Oh, you do have one, but you're not wearing it now, though.
Have you got apple bottom jeans
Bottom jeans.
or boots
with the fur.
Hats
Do you
with the
own an
flaps.
Hat with the flap.
The hat with the flap is great because you don't have to wear a coat if you're wearing one of those.
How does
He
that
doesn't
work?
wear a coat.
Oh, you just keep so much warmth inside, you know. It's
This guy probably goes out in like 6-degree weather. And
Oh,
just
it's a
like,
little
oh,
nippy.
it's summer.
I was wearing shorts yesterday and today.
And what was the weather up there?
15 Celsius. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit.
That's about
47,
58, 60
50?
degrees. Yeah,
50s, yeah.
50 something?
Yeah.
Then that's not awful.
I'd say 58.
That's
I'd say
warm.
58.
That's warm.
It was 64 today, and I still had on a jacket. And jeans.
That's because
You're
it's
not
super
you're not
windy.
acclimated, Tim.
My
No.
You're not
garage is
acclimated.
64 degrees right now. I'm in shirts and a t-shirt. Shorts and a t. I don't know. I've got underwear on.
Shirts and a t-shirt.
Not for long.
I
Yeah.
put my pants on.
I'm in shirts and a t-shirt.
You can lie, we'll never know.
No showing the guests the dinner plates, Mikey.
It's early yet, and he's not drunk enough.
True.
You don't know when I started.
Oh crap!
Disney actually tried to threaten Canada about pulling the exhibit because they wouldn't fund it, but ultimately they caved and did it anyway. One time during the planning, it was going to be divided in half. On one side of a main street was going to be French Canada, and the other side was going to be English Canada.
Wait, now I have a question. Is there really that much of a division, Julius, between like French and
Depends.
English?
Depends where you go. If you go to Montreal, for example, everybody speaks English in Montreal for the most part, although they appreciate it if you try to speak to them in French first. But as soon as you get even into the suburbs of Montreal and then into Quebec City and definitely in the boonies in Quebec, it's all French. And you know, we did have a referendum here 20-ish years ago where Quebec was trying to separate from Canada as well, and I think the final tally was like 50.4 to 49.6% in favor of staying in Canada, so it was close.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah, so there's definitely still some of those divisions, but they're definitely not as prevalent as they used to be. But in terms of language, it's still, if you're outside of Montreal, you'll probably not get too far if you can only speak English.
Wow, Quebec is
it's
like
like-
the
it's-
Canadian
it-
Texas.
yeah.
Less guns, less cows, probably, but yeah.
And a lot
I'm
warmer.
not talking about the women, Julius. That's just rude.
No, the women in Quebec are very good looking.
Oh, okay. Well, the ones in Texas are Texans.
I was gonna say something like really bad, but I'm not gonna go there.
This is just going beaver tail. That's all I'm.
No, I was just saying. I was like before or after they shave. I actually know some
One
people from Quebec. They're nice people.
One very good thing I'll say about Quebec, though, especially for Americans who live across the border in New York State, is that the drinking age in Quebec is 18,
Yes.
whereas in the rest of Canada it's 19. So if you're turning 18 and you want to go have a party, then just cross the border.
Unless you're Bryce Harper, and that's a clown question. That's a
Yeah, you just put them crickets in right here, Scott.
Base.
that's a baseball joke.
All right, so let's talk about the design of the pavilion. The main feature of the pavilion is Hotel de Canada, and it's modeled after Chateau Laurier in Ottawa. And it's one of the one of the buildings that utilize forced perspective the most, I think, on Disney property, because it looks like it's 6 stories tall, but it's
It
really
does.
only 3.
But how bad do you want to stay in that?
I do.
Like,
I do.
wouldn't this be a great place for a signature dining restaurant up there?
The only thing I'm concerned about.
Oh, in the
is
basement
forced
even.
Perspectives. Is how tall could that ceiling actually be once you get up towards the top?
Well, it's probably inside it's probably like a 2.5 story building. Or 2 like 15-foot ceilings you could do.
Probably.
Probably.
And they're using it just for what, storage, I think? I've heard?
Storage, probably just
Storage and
offices.
other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Outside of Hotel de Canada is the gardens. The Victoria Gardens. And they're inspired by the Bouchard Gardens near Victoria, British Columbia. And it makes Canadian Pavilion the largest and most labor intensive of all of the pavilions in Epcot. The gardens take up probably about 70% of.
Oh yeah, easily.
It's beautiful. I mean,
They're probably almost a full acre themselves.
yeah.
I mean, they're massive, and the sad thing is you can only walk in the front of them, and there's a large section in the back that is completely cared for by Disney. I mean, they do a great job there. It's beautiful.
We actually walked back there for the first time last April when we did the Easter egg hunt. Mm-hmm. And it was because there was one back there, and it was like, why haven't we come back here before? It's beautiful.
Those are some of my those. That's probably one of the best picture spots in Canada.
And they have that
That'd be pretty cool.
pond that runs. The waterfall runs into the pond, and if you keep walking behind that, and you have the entrance to Canada.
Wouldn't it be cool if they had a tour or something like that where you could just walk around the Victoria Gardens, like inside? That would be pretty neat.
Be cool.
You know, I'm kind of surprised they don't, because they do that like tea tour through England during Flower and Garden.
Right.
Yeah, they could have a beer tour to Canada.
Oh yes,
Molson tour.
Molson tour.
Well,
they have the
Molson
Molson Maple Stout during food and wine, so I don't know how good that would be.
Nice. That could be good. I haven't tried that.
So also prevalent in the pavilion are 3 native totem poles. They are up to 30 feet in height, or 9 meters for you metric Canadians.
Yeah, let's go meters here.
2 are made out of fiberglass, and 1 is carved out of wood. The wooden totem pole depicts the stories of the raven tricking the Sky Chief into the release of the sun, moon, and the stars from a chest. It was carved by the Alaskan artist David A. Boxley and was put on display in April of 1998.
So that's kind of new, actually.
Fairly new.
20 years is new.
Well, I mean,
considering Epcot was opened in 82 and the Canadian Pavilion was opened in 82.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
relatively new.
I've only ever been when it's there, so...
It'll still be on the oldie station at 20 years old.
This is true.
With Nirvana.
Actually, yeah. Yeah.
That hurts my head. We won't talk about that.
The stacks of wax here smells like Teen Spirit.
Soundgarden. There are also 3 hidden Mickeys in the pavilion. I won't tell you where they are in case you guys are into hunting them down. But just so you know, there are 3.
Only 3? That's it?
Only 3. Oh. And one of them, I'll give you a hint, one of them is actually inside the Cellier, so you have to go in there to find it.
Really? I never looked for that one.
The other building inside that encompasses the Canadian Pavilion is the Northwest Mercantile, which is their gift shop. We can find lots of plaid.
Lots of plaid, hockey stuff.
Flannel.
I think we bought Ethan because we ran out of pajamas. We bought Ethan a buffalo plaid pajama, like onesie, from there.
Nope. I gotta jump in here. How the hell do you run out of pajamas?
Okay, so we had dinner that night at Le Cellier, okay, and we forgot to pack his pajamas because when he was 1, we took him to the parks, and we would basically take pajamas every night to dinner and then like change him into his like pajamas because again it's December, so it's kind of cool. So we would change him into like his onesie pajamas at night, and this is we'll get to this other story in the Le Cellier part when we get to that, but that's where we got pajamas from him, and they were buffalo plaid lumberjack pajamas.
See, down here we just throw blankets on kids. Like if it gets cold, we just put another fucking blanket on the kid.
There you go.
Well, we were at dinner, so we figured let's put him in pajamas, and if he falls asleep on the way home, we could just transfer him to the bed when we get back to the resort.
I was going to say, it's easy to run out of pajamas when you have a 1-year-old, because when they take one of those explosive shits, that puts that thing beyond
that's what I was thinking. Is you have to pack extra of everything.
See, maybe the South is different. I don't think I've ever put pajamas on a toddler. I just always put clothes on them that, I never called them pajamas.
Well, see, the South is a different animal, because in the South, we let the kids run around in just a diaper.
Yeah.
It's a little different than up here in the North, where you actually have to clothe the kid to keep him alive.
We clothe our youths.
well, it's not only that. Hypothermia is a thing up here.
Yeah.
So, there's that.
But, honestly, the design of this place is absolutely beautiful, and nobody really takes advantage of it to go into the far back of the pavilion and see the grand waterfall back there. Nobody really knows about it.
And walking the bridge that's back there as well is really nice.
It's a great bridge.
It is a great bridge. But everything about this pavilion just, to me, screams Canada. So Julius,
Mm-hmm.
is it Canadian or Phonadian?
I would say that the outdoor elements of it are very Canadian. So the waterfall, the rock faces, the rapids. So when you're going on that bridge just outside of O Canada that connects to the back of the Victoria Gardens, those rapids are very representative of, like, for example, Northern Ontario, where we have a lot of like cottage towns and that kind of thing, where basically we head up there in the summer to go kayaking, canoeing, that kind of thing. That's definitely representative of Canada. The Hotel du Canada is very representative as well of the Chateau Laurier in Ottawa, and the architecture as well is representative, kind of old style English Canada versus French Canada, that kind of thing. So it's there's a lot of really good elements there. And the totem poles definitely also kind of call out to the indigenous culture that exists here as well. But we do at least kind of have those recognitions of that culture, which I think is really good. I think it's kind of funny that it was an American artist that designed the wood totem pole, not a Canadian artist. But
I said he was Canadian.
and he's from Alaska.
He was Alaskan.
Man, Alaska is like,
It's like Canada West.
yeah,
Canada
yeah.
White.
Yeah.
Continue with the kind of outdoor entertainment aspect of this. The pavilion's always been host to some form of entertainment. Now, I think this is where we're going to get into a little Phonadian here.
A lot of
Phonadian.
A lot of Phonadian. So, one of the first acts that ever showed up at the Canada Pavilion was the Maple Leaf Brass. Okay? Now, I never saw these guys. They were around from 1988 to 1990, so not very long. They were, let's just say they were lumberjacks, playing a 5-piece brass band, and they played kind of like jazz music. So, Julius, Canadian?
No.
Yeah, this honestly seemed like something that just got thrown together at the last minute.
Yeah.
Are we playing the game that's A or nay? Is that what this is?
Well, jazz music was created down south. That doesn't
I
make
know,
any sense.
Doesn't get
And,
more
like-
anti-Canadian than that.
And like the thing is, these guys are wearing like plaid shirts and like high-waisted like lederhosen style pants with like the lumberjack hats. No, it was so Phonadian.
Yeah. Now, if I can defend a little bit of the jazz portion of it, because my understanding,
Montreal
has the jazz festival for sure, but even I believe that a lot of people that live in New Orleans that call themselves Cajuns, that was a slang term dating back from the War of 1812,
Right.
when a lot of British soldiers and stuff like that ended up coming south that were Acadians, and then it became slang and became Cajuns. So my understanding is that a lot of people from down there were originally Canadian, or, well, British, basically, at the time, because it wasn't Canada yet. But
Look at this guy bringing legitimacy to this podcast. Holy shit.
They don't
See,
call
like,
it
they get-
Storybook for nothing.
Well, they
Yeah.
get taught history in Canada.
That's true.
that said, though, still Phonadian.
Yeah.
After all that,
Yeah,
it's
no,
still Phonadian.
I encourage you to go look them up on YouTube. There's a couple of videos of them which I watched and I was like, what the hell is this?
So now, what kind of music did they play since you watched it? I mean, jazz I get, but was it like blues? Was it?
So the first song was Ain't Misbehavin'.
Okay, because
which
that
is like a
makes
New Orleans Dixie style jazz.
no sense.
And then it was Glenn Miller's Everybody Swing. I know, right? So it was definitely anything but Canadian. So the next act was the Caledonian Bagpipe Trio. And this ran from like 1990 to 1997. And it was basically 3 guys playing bagpipes. The lead of this was Jamie Holton, that we'll come into later. And they would just play this bagpipe music in the pavilion on and off for about a 7-year period of time. So, Julius, bagpipes, Canadian?
Bagpipes are Canadian.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
of, it's because of a lot of the immigrants that came here back in the day.
From Scotland.
And, yeah, from Scotland for sure. And there is definitely a really big Scottish Highland culture that exists in Canada. A good friend of mine who is in the Canadian Navy as well, he plays the bagpipes. So there's definitely a history of it here. And the town of Caledonia is just outside of my hometown of Hamilton, Ontario as well. So it would be cool if they were actually from Caledonia, but...
Why'd you have to say the H word?
The H word?
You didn't... Oh, keep on talking.
Hamilton.
Not that Hamilton, but yes.
That's a dirty word on the show. That's the only word on this show we cannot say.
Hey, Adam, fun fact.
I almost listened to it the other day, and then I got busy doing stuff. I'm not going to lie.
Fun fact, Adam. My dad was born in Hamilton, Ohio.
Of course he was. That makes so much sense now.
So, after 1997, this is where we come to, I think, the crown jewel of Canadian, or the Canadian entertainment in Canada's pavilion, and that's Off Kilter.
Mm-hmm.
So this band consisted of Jamie Holton from that bagpipe trio we just mentioned. Jamie Holton is from Florida. He played.
Yes.
He played along with Mark Weldon from Ireland, Scott Zamowski from Florida, and Randy Holbrook from Florida. And they formed Off Kilter, which was this Highland kind of rock band. They played what they called Canadian rock music. Some of my favorite songs, and I will listen to their album over and over again because I love this. Fields of Athenry is a great song that they sing. The Rovin Dies Hard, Whiskey in a Jar, Green Fields of France. I'm trying to think. Leaving Liverpool. Honestly, their music to me is what drew me to this pavilion in the first place. I remember going to see them in 2000 and just stopping and watching them play for 40 minutes, and they're amazing. Now, they did play Mikey, Summer of '69 by
Bryan Adams.
Bryan Adams.
who is
Canadian.
yes.
Shit, I wouldn't know where he's from.
Oh,
But this was before Bieber, because he's Canadian.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know
Yeah,
what?
you guys can have
They
his
will
back.
even take him
too.
back. We're stuck with his ass.
Yes, you are. You're
And
stuck
Carly
with
Rae
him. You're
Jepsen's
stuck with
Canadian.
Celine.
Oh, God.
I think
the greatest singer in all the world.
Which
I think didn't someone lose a bet for Bieber in some sports bet? Was that Toronto and Baltimore or something like that in the baseball playoffs?
Not sure.
I don't know. We lost a bet and we had to keep Bieber for ever. So
Forever.
yeah. So
Bieber
Off Kilter
tail.
played from 1997 to September 27, 2014. That was their last performance. Their last performance was so well attended that they actually had to be escorted off stage by Disney security. They played for 2 hours. Their last set was supposed to last for 40 minutes. They lasted for 2 hours. So, Julius, Canadian? Phonadian?
So, despite the fact that none of the members are from Canada, but Florida is the place where Canadians go to die. So they get honorary status that way. No, they were fantastic. Like, I got to see them in 2013. And what I really liked about them is that even though they weren't Canadian, they seemed to really pay attention to a lot of Canadian music and a lot of what makes Canadian music unique, especially stuff from the East Coast, because that's where you get a lot of like Celtic influences. There's a band that we have here from Newfoundland called Great Big Sea that really embodies that like Celtic feeling. They play a lot of traditional songs. They do a few original songs as well. But I know that Off Kilter has played a couple of their songs as well. Some of those traditional Newfoundland Irish songs. So they, to me, they get a big thumbs up in my book in terms of Canadianness.
Yeah, they were just good, fun music to sit and watch. And they played out. So they were the first to play out over there at the mill stage right in front of the pavilion.
Mm-hmm.
They were that stage was actually built for them. Now that stage didn't die when they died, or when the band died out.
should have.
Should have.
They should have burnt it to the ground after that.
Because the next entertainment was the Canadian Lumberjack Show. Now, Mikey, did you get to see this?
No.
Okay.
Count your blessings.
Adam, Tim, I know you guys saw a little bit of this.
Yes, we walked right
saw
past
it.
We saw it. Julius, did you get to see this at all?
Unfortunately, yes.
How bad was this show?
It was. What bothered me about it is that it was boring, for one thing.
Yes.
It
Yes.
wasn't compelling in any way to actually go and stand there and watch it. And all the performers that were involved just looked like they were really bored and would rather be anywhere else. And when you don't have that passion or anything like that, it really comes off. And boring is probably the best word, I think, for that.
Yeah. It seemed,
Sure.
and Julius is right, it seemed very displaced. Like, it felt like nobody really was there to entertain the crowd, and they were just, like, going through the motions.
Now, I
Well,
never
my
saw it.
real
Can you explain it to me?
Oh,
Because
all right,
I
so,
never
yeah.
saw it.
Well,
Describe
my
it.
real issue with it before we start is it felt like a very scripted, poorly executed reality show.
Right. So,
And there was contests and all this other nonsense, and you knew what was going to happen before it actually went through the motions and like cheering, and it just fell very, very flat.
yeah. So basically, the show consisted of 5 lumberjacks. One guy was the host, and there was a red team and a blue team, and they would go through different competitions. It would be anything from solo chainsaw, where they saw the giant log. Mikey, let me tell you this. Do it this way. Let's go back to Branson and go back to the Still Lumberjack contest in Branson, Missouri. Televised on ESPN 3.
You're by yourself at the still limit.
Okay.
You are by yourself on this one.
But the problem is with that is that at least that's not scripted and
No,
poorly
that was a
acted.
real competition. So basically, these guys would do the competition. They would do the like solo chainsaw. They would have the tandem saw brought out. They would throw axes, log rolling. It just everything felt forced with this.
And disjointed.
So it's basically like going to a monster truck show or a tractor pull, and when they have the quad races in the middle of it, racing for your state or the neighboring state, your state always ends up winning, but they make it just close enough to piss everybody off because they've been pounding Budweisers all night.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
But they
That's-
don't have the captive audience.
Yeah, not a captive audience.
Yeah, no,
that's true.
you paid $22.50 to sit down with your earplugs on. So yeah, you're yay Arkansas, boo Oklahoma, because
Yeah,
It's
this
And-
you didn't pay anything for except for your admission to Epcot. You stood and watched it for a few minutes, said, yeah, this is dumb, and you moved on.
Yeah, and you
that's-
walked
that's
away.
no
And the worst part of this was you could hear this all the way across the lagoon.
I don't remember.
I don't remember
Oh.
hearing it across the lagoon, but it was pretty loud.
I just remember drinking. So could be why I don't remember, so...
So they had a short run. They only lasted about a year. And then over the last 3 years, they've kind of had a revolving door of acts. Everything from Alberta Bound, which is kind of like Canadian folk music. They've been okay, but, you know, the whole point of this after Off Kilter was to have a ongoing short series of acts and then move them on to the next thing. So, Julius, did you ever see Alberta Bound?
No.
Yeah, I never saw him.
The last time I was there was 2014, so the last Mill Street or Mill Stage band that I saw was the Lumberjacks, unfortunately.
Oh God. And then after Alberta Bound, we got the Le Parfait Circus Troupe. So this is essentially where Cirque du Soleil came from. So Cirque du Soleil came from Montreal. It was kind of a street performing circus kind of thing. This was very much that. It was music, acrobatics, juggling. They played for about 6 months, moved on. Raffi, which is from Montreal, Canadian,
Like
right?
the real Raffi?
Yep.
Not that Raffi.
Rafi.
Oh.
Raffi. It's a quartet.
R-A-F-F-Y. Yeah.
Oh, not with the I.
And so my issue with an act like Rafi, however they pronounce it. So I mean they're from Montreal, so I guess they're authentically Canadian in that regard. But if I'm kind of walking by the pavilion, I'm not going to be drawn in by a bar band playing a Bon Jovi cover, especially if they're at the Canada Pavilion. Now, average American tourist may not know what some of our really good music is, because you're exposed mostly to Justin Bieber and Celine Dion and Carly Rae Jepsen and acts like that, whereas we know that we've got Leonard Cohen and the Tragically Hip and Sloan and Sam Roberts and bands like that. And so when I'm in the pavilion, if there's going to be a bar band basically that's playing covers and stuff like that, that's what I want to hear, because that'll kind of harken back home for me, is hearing Bob Cajun by the Tragically Hip, or one of those kind of songs, or something by Great Big Sea, not Living on a Prayer, which I saw Raffi playing on YouTube. So that's the kind of thing I think that they've got to fix, and get them to play some Canadian songs and expose people to something new. It's Epcot. It's about education as well as entertainment. So
give me a Rush cover band.
Yeah.
Oh,
that
yes.
would be
Yes.
Oh, listen, Rush is retired. Give me actual Rush.
what I wouldn't give to hear YYZ being played.
He said Zed.
That
He
would
said
be awesome.
Zed.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. He did.
Even though here we pronounce the airport code YYZ, I had to throw that in there. So.
Okay, now
Just give me Tom Sawyer on a loop, and I'm fine.
no, not that
Just
song.
give me Neil Peart playing drums
no,
for
not
3
that
hours a
song.
night.
Oh man, that would be awesome.
No. Now I have a question. Would you prefer something more, not necessarily popular? Like when you think about the China Pavilion, they have the drummers. They're not actually paying
Japan.
Chinese. The Japan has the drummers. The Chinese have the acrobats. I'm
Yes.
sorry. Yeah. No, Japan has the drummers. They're not paying J-pop. You know what I'm saying? Which they could actually do at this point, because it's become this huge thing. Which would you prefer? Would you prefer something more traditional Canadian, or would you prefer a cover band?
Bring back Off Kilter. That's what he said. Oh,
Yes.
great, Julius.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I
Totally.
agree. Bring back Off
Yeah, you
Kilter.
sound exactly like him, Scott.
Off Kilter does both, right? So
Yes.
why not? If you can find a band that'll pull off both, I think that would be great.
I mean, I since Off Kilter, nothing has ever drawn my attention.
No.
And because for me, Off Kilter was just a good band that would get the crowd into it, that would get you dancing for a little bit, and you didn't even have to watch the full show, but you would stop there, listen to a couple songs, then move on.
There was a petition to bring them back, but didn't work. They actually went on tour.
Yeah, they
It's
actually
a petition to bring everything that closes back to Disney.
Yeah, you can actually find Off Kilter around Orlando. They still are in Orlando.
Well, they all are from Florida. Majority of them are from
Yeah.
Florida, so that kind of makes sense.
It's not like they moved to Canada.
That's true.
They have been in Ohio. They did tour in Ohio for a little bit.
No shit.
Yeah.
Why Ohio?
There's a big Celtic festival that goes on in Ohio every year that they go to.
They toured the country for a while.
Yeah.
Right now there is an act there called Soroy, which is a Cajun Celtic bluegrass and rock music band. That's opening up this month, actually, just last week, and they'll be there through the end of July. So, interesting mix since Off Kilter. I think they're just trying to keep it fresh and find something that kind of just works for a little bit and then move on.
They haven't said who's going to be there in November yet, have they?
No,
No, they wouldn't say that something far out.
honestly, these are kind of pop-up shop bands where they kind of just bring someone in and say, okay, the Disney Parks blog will release a blog about quickly, next week at Canada will be this band for the next 6 weeks, and you can find them Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then they'll list the show times. They don't have a set band there. They don't have a real kind of home for that pavilion, unfortunately.
But it makes sense though, because they're not going to. I don't think they want another situation
like
like
Off
Off Kilter.
Yeah.
where they became actually more popular than anything going on in that pavilion.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you didn't go to Canada to see Canada. You went to Canada to watch Off Kilter. And that creates a different kind of problem. At least in my opinion, it creates a traffic jam. You're not going to actually... You're seeing a cover band at the end of the day that's covering other people's music. You're not actually going to experience the pavilion. You're not spending money.
Yeah, you're seeing them for free, basically. Like, you know, other than your park admission, obviously, but that gets you a whole lot more. So,
Yeah.
So no rush is what you're saying.
no.
No rush.
Geddy Lee has season tickets to the Blue Jays, so as long as the Jays are playing, you'll be seeing him at the stadium. He sits right behind home plate.
Yeah.
Does he really?
He does, second row behind home plate. Yeah, you'll see him in his sunglasses and a baseball hat.
With all this talk about music, let's get on to the food of Canada.
Okay. Now, this sounds just like a disconnect. From Le Cellier's early days, it actually wasn't what we have right now. It was actually started out life as sort of like a cafeteria style. It was a place where you can grab like just a tray, pick up food from a line, pay at the register, find a table, and sit. And that lasted till about 1997. I have no clue about this, and I looked and I looked and I looked, and I couldn't find a menu. I couldn't find anything.
If this is in the same building, this would be the most poorly planned quick service ever, because that's not a big space.
But it's just a quick service.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at a lot of the quick service throughout Epcot, at least the land pavilions, and you don't have like these huge quick service areas. You have booths, you have like walkthroughs. The only one that really has one is the France Pavilion.
Yeah,
and that has a huge indoor seating area.
I guess it's kind of like along the lines of Katsura Grill up in Japan, where it's really
It's pretty
just a small
too.
hut. Yeah, small hut. Yeah.
So I mean, it kind of makes sense. I don't think I would necessarily eat there. Then you have, and I'm going to kill this, so I apologize to all French speakers in the world. So
Tim's cringing right now.
Oh no, he makes no. He's not cringing. He enjoys.
I do.
Because I've told the story on the podcast where he made me try to order the Grand Marnier slushy in French.
No, it wasn't the Grand Marnier slushy. It was something in the food booth.
Oh, La Viande Rose?
No, it
No,
was,
that I could say.
The escargot, but
No, it wasn't escargot. It was something else. It was some drink.
was it the drink?
Yes.
My grandmother was French. She was from Paris. So
I'm asking him how to say this, and he's like, "No, just go ahead, try."
Je voudrais.
It was not good. They laughed at me, and then Tim had to order.
Je voudrais.
It was bad.
Je voudrais.
So it's La Boutique des Provinces.
That's not bad.
Provence. And
Yes.
if you're,
Provence.
Yeah.
There's an S. I don't understand. And that's
You don't say the S.
located.
you know, yeah, it's silent.
Yeah, Adam. Much like Jersey, they don't pronounce all the letters up there in France.
No, we just add letters in New York. So I mean that
We add letters and subtract syllables.
exactly. And that was located in the Hotel du Canada, and that sells Anne of Green Gables gifts, Blue Mountain pottery, along with various handcrafted souvenirs.
Can I be
So is Anna
ignorant for a second? And just was Anne
only a second?
Yeah, just for a second. Is Anne of Green Gables a Canadian thing?
pretty sure, yeah, it's from
I wasn't okay.
out east.
I wasn't aware there were gingers up there.
You guys are everywhere. Like
Yeah, I know.
roaches.
Well, we watched a lot of Anne of Green Gables growing up. My sister watched, so that's why I was like, well, but yeah, looking back at it, it was like a little house on the way North Prairie.
Well, I mean, it was immensely popular in the mid '80s. So, I mean, this was like prime time TV.
I can honestly say I've never watched this.
My sister used to watch
Me
it.
neither.
Yeah, my sister watched a lot of it. That's how I'm not.
I never watched an episode.
A lot of stuff is filmed here too, but it isn't Canadian.
Oh, ton of stuff is filmed
Ton
up
of
in
stuff is
Canada.
from
Yeah, like the X-Files was filmed here for
Yep.
the longest time, and
Oh, what was the show I loved? Not Downton Abbey. There, I'll find it eventually.
I was
it'll come to
literally
my
going to
mind.
say Downton Abbey when he said what's a show I love.
No, that was filmed.
That's
that was
where
filmed
my brain
in-
went immediately.
Yeah, that was filmed in the UK. There's a show
'Cause
that I
that's the
really
London.
like.
The London.
Oh, Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is filmed in Canada.
a portion.
Some of it.
filmed in
Some
Europe.
of
Just
it.
filled everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do a lot in Canada. Like
Yeah?
Toronto.
No, they do a lot in Europe.
They do a lot.
Well,
in
they do a
Ireland.
lot in Ireland too. Yeah, Ireland's the new place to film everything.
It's the New Zealand.
Yes.
And last but not least, because we all needed this in our lives,
Oh, this is my favorite part.
we have the Beaver Tail kiosk cart, which sold Beaver Tail goods. And that closed in 2005. Is this like such a... Like, what the heck's a Beaver Tail good?
Well, it's better than a beaver tail bad.
A rabbit
Beaver tail's a
tail?
pubic mullet.
A beaver tail that's good actually never closes, Adam. And does not smell like a mullet.
And all I'm thinking of for some reason when I say beaver tail is like a platypus tail for some reason.
Well, that's what they look
like
like.
flat and like...
Oh well,
butterish.
I think there's a lot of people just imaginations are running wild right now.
Yes. We're gonna get a
But
lot of
Freaks,
comments
a
on that.
lot of you.
So Julius, tell us what this actually is. Not
It's just a fried dough pastry, and I mean I've had like Italian versions of it, like where it's just basically dough that's deep fried in oil, and that's all it is. Like it usually like dusted with like icing sugar or something like that. I haven't had a authentic one. The couple times I've been to Ottawa, I never had one. But the reason that they got really kind of into the public consciousness was because when Barack Obama visited Ottawa for the first time, he had to go and get one. And so the motorcade pulled up to like this little pastry shop and he went out and got one, and the proprietor didn't charge him for it, and that was basically it. And that's the reason that kind of everybody down south started to get wise to what they were. But that's basically all it is, just deep fried dough.
it's basically a long like.
There's no good way to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Are the beaver tails filled with cream?
I don't think, not that I know of.
What about like a cherry filling? Do they offer that like every
Holy
3-4 weeks or so, maybe?
Jesus Christ!
I know it's kind of yeasty because it is bread.
That's true.
It's kind of flat.
So
From what
the
I've
beaver
looked
tail
on
is
the
basically
internet,
a.
By the way, do not Google beaver tail.
Make sure if you do Google beaver tail, Google
pastry
beaver tail
at the end.
pastry.
Does it?
Don't do it at work, for God's sake.
Yes, don't do it at work. We don't recommend that.
It looks like a flat Zeppelin,
donut?
but with
Yeah.
toppings. A lot of the
Yeah.
pictures have toppings on them. Is that
Yeah.
a thing? The toppings?
Yeah, like
So
they'll
what do you
put
put
like
on top of
chocolate
your
on.
beaver tail?
Anything you want.
Well, that's where you could put the cream filling.
Jesus fuck!
So it's a glazed beaver tail then.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Mikey!
No, you put. I mean, you've got the beaver tail. You just and
Poor
then you,
Julius. He's never coming on the show again.
Yeah, you want to glaze it, I know.
Beaver tail sandwich? I don't know.
Beaver tail burger.
Well, now we've got ketchup and mayonnaise and mustard and some all-American beef.
If you fold it in half, does it make a moose knuckle?
Shit.
All right, let's go. Going back on track.
Oh,
This train is going 90 miles an hour down the.
You know, we've taken
Northeast corridor.
Canada, which is like, you know, perceivably one of the more wholesome.
And we ruined it.
So lots of good food there, but finally,
In 2010-ish, we're not quite sure. I'm sorry. From 1997 on, we had the original Le Cellier Steakhouse, which was a lot of fun, very relaxed, kind of like how I pictured like Canada to be more. Wait staff was extremely friendly. It wasn't all that outrageously priced. And then 2010-ish happened.
Yeah.
And we got the 2-credit Uber de Duber Le Cellier Signature Dining Steakhouse, which I honestly can't stand. And for me, have you eaten, Julius, at the original Le Cellier?
Not the original. First time I was there was January 2013.
Okay, so now, from what I even looked at online, I was looking at restaurants when I kind of rethemed this restaurant for myself. What are your thoughts of this restaurant? Like your honest Canadian thoughts.
Well, I've been there. I've been there 3 times because I love the food, and the desserts as well are very good.
Okay.
I get the what's it called, the mushroom risotto fillet every time I go, and I love it. So I don't have any complaints about the. Well, it is in that we enjoy our steak, we enjoy our meat. Here the here the culture too is like from Alberta, the province of Alberta. That's where we do get a lot of our meat from because they have a big ranching industry out there and farming industry and everything. So it's kind of a big deal for something to be like grade A Alberta beef. So that's why the steak part fits in really well. And then other than that, in terms of the food, like, I mean, the cheddar cheese soup is definitely a very French, Canadian, Quebec type of thing. The poutine there, though, is not authentic Canadian poutine.
It's bougie.
It is, and it bugs me because, like, to me, a poutine is just fries, cheese curds, and gravy. In that order, because then you want the hot gravy to melt the cheese curds all over everything. I've seen some places, and I've heard that the poutine place in Disney Springs does this too. They put the curds on top of the gravy, which doesn't make any sense.
Heresy!
Yeah. So, yeah, but I was asking one of the servers at Le Cellier about the poutine there, and they basically said that because it's an upscale restaurant, the chef did not want to basically put, like, street meat type poutine on the menu. He wanted it to be bougie.
Well, I mean, it has truffle oil and all this other stuff.
Yeah, and it's like a red wine reduction sauce instead of gravy. And it's,
Nope.
But meanwhile, like, a lot of Americans are eating it and they're like, "Oh, this tastes really good." And yes, it does taste good. I will say that. Like I did have it one time, and actually my wife liked it because she doesn't like gravy. So she did eat that and said, "Oh, this is actually poutine that I'll eat." But yeah, I was just like, "Yeah, it tastes good, but it's not poutine. Like, it's not the same thing, and you shouldn't call it that if you're going that off script with it."
Yeah, so
Fair
like
enough.
like back here in Jersey, we have something called disco fries,
Mm-hmm.
which is basically fries, and then instead of cheese curds, we do mozzarella cheese,
Mm-hmm.
and then throw the gravy on top of that, and it's very similar. If you try to bougie that up, I just don't think it works.
It sounds
Well,
like...
you're also not eating set disco fries at
True.
3 o'clock in the morning, coming home from a bar or a club. I mean, there's a little bit of a difference.
That's
there.
why they call them disco fries.
Exactly.
It sounds like actual... I mean, again, you're talking to an Arkansan here, so what the fuck do I know about anything except chocolate gravy? But it sounds like poutine is just one of those, foods that's just... I don't want to say like necessarily a staple in Canada, but it's just it's not something that you suss up. Okay, it's just like down here.
Yeah,
it's a street food.
I mean it's a 3-ingredient food, and when you do anything, when you dick around with it, you fuck it up.
It's like somebody sussing up sausage and gravy. You can't fuck with basic sausage and gravy.
Now, here a lot of pubs that you'll go to, they'll have 3 or 4 different poutines on the menu. Like, they'll have the classic, and then they might do one, like, there's a pub that I go to after softball games that'll do one where they basically take a burger, like just the patty, and they'll cut it in half and put that on top. So you get
Really good.
they call it like a double cheeseburger poutine, or
I'm
you'll get
hungry
pulled pork
now.
put on top of it, or buffalo chicken. and those are good too.
Julius, do you want to go in with Three Sheets Nation and open up a Canadian restaurant in downtown Disney to do it the right way? Because even just hearing you describe your free range Albertian cattle steaks,
Poutine.
And
God, I was just thinking, I want a Canadian steak right now, and I want it to say that
We
it's
got the same
sorry
thing in
whenever I cut
Nebraska.
into it.
Well, the thing is, we have like almost a poutineery, I guess you would call it, where they do actually make it the right way, where they put the cheese curds and then the gravies and stuff on top.
Frites.
Right.
And it's a chain.
Yeah, it's called
Don't
frites.
ask me that.
Okay, just come to Arkansas and we'll set up a food truck.
All right, but I'm only bringing Canadian money with me.
Whatever.
Crap.
My wife's a
loony.
banker;
We're
she'll
gonna
exchange
pass
it.
on
I
that.
mean, we may lose some money on that, but it'll wash out.
That's a hard pass for me.
It's not worth much, but it looks nice.
No, it's pretty.
It is pretty.
it's got a bird on it.
And each
Okay.
each denomination is a different color.
Yep.
The interior is this wine cellar kind of thing. I don't think I've ever had a Canadian wine that I can honestly clearly remember. Is wine like a big thing in Canada that you make there?
It's become a big thing, especially where I am. So I'm in southern Ontario, and the Niagara wine region is huge now. Like, there are wineries everywhere in kind of like the southeastern tip of Ontario, kind of when you're getting close to the border with New York. So that whole area is just like all wineries pretty much now. And there's some really good ones. There are some really shitty ones too. But one of the big things with the wineries now is that they'll host weddings and stuff. So I've been to 5 or 6 weddings at wineries as well, and those have been some of the better weddings that I've been to as well, just because if you have a really, really good local wine that's there on your table, you're going to go through it really fast. So
I think we can blame California for that whole movement of the winery wedding.
probably. One of the big things here too,
It's the Catalina wine mixer.
that's a good movie. But one of the big things here too is ice wine as well. So they'll harvest the grapes when they're still frozen, and so it's a very sweet tasting wine. I've had some as well that are mixed with brandy, and those are good. It's expensive, so like a bottle the size of like my beer bottle will be like $35 or something like that. But it's good. Yeah,
Yeah, but
very sweet though. Very sweet.
have
If
you
don't
seen
like
how
sweet
these
wine,
two
you might
over
not
here
like ice
drink
wine.
wine?
The three of us. It's the three of us. There's
Yeah, right?
I've listened to the podcast.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I've got a whole fridge dedicated just to wine.
My wines don't last a fridge.
Well, I have a couple of bottles that are.
that we're not
Pricey.
allowed to drink.
well, yeah, like a
it's
$35
they're for
12-ounce
show.
Special
bottle.
occasion wine, or yeah.
You know how many of
for
those
show.
bottles you could fit in your little wine fridge, guys? For 12 ounces
Well-
a piece, you could fit $400 in there easy.
Well, there's $400
We have
in there.
$400 with,
two
like,
bottles.
Fair enough.
It's scary. So now I have a question. Because we have a popcorn cart outside the Canadian Pavilion, which sells soda, Moosehead Lager, Moosehead Light, and Labatt's Blue. Would this make more sense to be like, instead of get rid of the popcorn, make that like a poutinery? Or like a little poutine cart? Because
definitely.
that's kind of what I'm getting from it.
Yeah, definitely. Like, honestly, if they had the same poutine that I got in my high school cafeteria when I was in high school, that would be awesome. Just hire
wait,
those
what?
ladies
Whoa,
from.
whoa, whoa, whoa,
Wait,
whoa, whoa,
freeze,
whoa, whoa,
freeze
whoa,
frame.
whoa! You just dropped a bomb.
You got poutine in high school,
Yeah,
So they got history and poutine.
and we got cellophane wrapped grilled cheese.
yeah. It was $2.75 got you a big plate of poutine.
On Wednesdays, we have baked potato bar in high school, which they give you a baked potato, and you go and load it up with chili and cheese and sour cream and salsa and vegetables and jalapenos and all that shit.
Okay,
sounds
in New
really good to me,
York,
too.
You got like a dried out gray hockey puck looking burger.
In aluminum foil.
Yes. And like
We had some of
kind
those, too.
really bright yellow cheese.
Fridays,
Wasn't
the
American
baked potato
cheese.
bar is a nacho bar, and you get chips and taco meat, and then you have all the rest of the same stuff from the baked potato bar.
This makes
And tater tots.
this makes Taco
tater
Tuesday sound like shit.
We didn't have Taco Tuesday.
What was
we
your
had
high
taco.
school
Sorry.
poutine like, Julius? Was it just the basic
It-
stuff?
Yep, just the basics, and it was awesome.
Do
It
you
was
guys
my-
have use brown gravy or white gravy?
Brown gravy. Always
Oh,
brown gravy.
No, hey,
Wait,
that's
no.
down here in the South. It's a legit question. I have
Well,
family.
It is.
Yeah,
You're
we
Is
forget
white-
Mikey is
is-
big on white gravy.
Well, no,
So-
I mean on certain things. On
certain
chicken
things,
fried
yes.
steak, you get white gravy. If you get
Yes.
brown
Yes.
gravy, you can go ahead and
Without a
move to
doubt.
Russia. As far as I'm concerned.
When I went to Cooperstown, New York to see the Baseball Hall of Fame, the hotel that we were staying at had a breakfast buffet, and they had a slow cooker there with a label on it that said sausage gravy, and it was white inside.
Yes.
Sausage gravy
That's
usually
what
is
it is.
white.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just
Well,
pretty
I
much
mean-
butter,
It was good.
flour, and milk.
If you're putting
I-
white gravy
I
on
really
a
liked
chicken
it.
fried steak, you can omit the sausage. Everything else is fine.
I'm really getting hungry. We need to change.
I know, right?
As we're talking about the food,
I had biscuits and gravy and sausage and eggs and hash browns for dinner, so I had some white gravy
It
tonight.
doesn't matter what I had for dinner. Dinner was a long time ago right now, and I started
Yeah.
running again. So all I want to do is stuff my face right now. So
So Julius,
Mm-hmm.
overall, the food at Canada, Canadian, Phonadian.
Canadian, except the poutine, that fake ass poutine
Yeah,
that they
yeah,
have in there. Yeah.
Now you can get poutine just down the street at the refreshment port. They do have that available now, and it's more authentic. You know, it's probably along the lines of the poutineerie over at Disney Springs.
I think I'm.
yeah, but from what he's saying, you can't get much less authentic than what you get.
At
At
Le Cellier.
Le Cellier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to make poutine like in the next week at home at some point.
I think that sounds good. So let's talk about some of the attractions at Canada.
You want to talk about all of them, or do you want to talk about one of them?
Look. First of all, Canada's the Canadian attractions started with Walt Disney being involved in the 1967 Expo.
Well, yeah. I mean, the one attraction. I mean, let's face it. Canada, short of the scenery, which is in and of itself an attraction, we've covered that. The thing to do if you're not eating in Canada is to go to the pavilion and go inside and see O Canada, which, as Scott said, actually has its roots that go all the way back to 1967, when at the Canadian, the World's Fair, which was actually hosted in Montreal in 67, you had a film director named Robert Barkley. He was approached actually as a joint kind of partnership here with the Canadian Telephone, or the Telephone Association of Canada. Good God, Scott, of Canada. So many
I know
words.
English.
I know. I'm trying.
I talk
Frank.
good. Try
They
French.
pronounce it Canada in the Santa Claus movies.
What?
Canada.
Canada.
That's how Tim Allen says it.
James
Oh, that's
Canada?
Tim Allen.
Well,
Canada. That's a good one.
That's Elf.
which okay, we'll get to it in a second, and then I'm going to come back to that, Julius. You opened up the door, so this is all going to be on you, sir. So yeah, Bobby Barkley does this film back in '67 that was shown at the World's Fair, held at the Telephone Association of Canada Pavilion. And it wasn't just a regular movie. It was there to actually mark the centenary of the Confederation of Canada, because every country apparently has a South. I'm sorry, it's a lot of monkey shoulder. It sounded funny as I was saying that, and I went with it.
It's funny.
Now, what makes this film... Two things made this film really interesting. First, it was commissioned by the Telephone Association of Canada, but the film was actually produced by the Walt Disney Company. And as with most things Disney in the 60s, they tried to be pioneers of stuff, and they succeeded. They actually hired a guy named Paul Mantz. So, Polyboy was tasked with taking an actual B-25 bomber and rebuilding it into an aerial filmmaking platform, which is how they were able to capture a lot of these stunning visuals over the Canadian landscape and countryside. Does Canada have a countryside, or is it just
yeah.
Okay.
No.
It's,
No, just all metropolises.
a bit of
Exactly. See,
everything.
they got a lot of metropoli there. So you had all this amazing film work done, and they pioneered what is currently called circle vision, which, I mean, it's been around since '67. So, you know,
But this is amazing because it's essentially 9 cameras filming at once.
Yeah, you've got 9 cameras, each of them filming at a 40-degree angle to the one before it, which gives it a full 360-degree coverage area. So they got this apparatus hanging off the bottom side of this B-25, and it's flying all aboot Canada, and they end up with this film, which was called Canada 67, that is currently considered to be one of the rarest circle vision films ever. And personally, I think all circle vision films are kind of rare, but this one was only ever shown at the World's Fair, and then briefly in January of '74 during Disney's, I guess, Magic Kingdom, for some reason, had a salute to Canada in '74. So it played a little bit there, but it lives on because it inspired what we see now at the O Canada attraction in the Canada Pavilion at Epcot, and that actually started in '82. So they used pretty much the same rig, but you know, I'm sure it was probably upgraded to like a helicopter.
Yes.
We don't have those here.
But you still had these 9 cameras. The whole thing weighed like 400 pounds. So that was like what, a fifth of a ton? That's not a metric ton though. That's like an American ton. So it's fatter. And what these 9 cameras allowed was like a very precise filming as it as you're flying through. It. I don't know. I assume we've all have seen it, and you stand in that pavilion and you look all the way around you 360 degrees, and you don't see any overlap, and that actually is a testament to the filmmakers and the Imagineers and the engineers that were actually designing this circle vision rig, because after you get past that part, it's actually pretty basic. If you figure you've got 9 cameras filming, if you go in and you watch the circle vision film, you've got 9 cameras projecting. So it's set up so you don't see the overlap, and you can sit there. You can't sit there. Actually, that's a bold-faced lie. You have to stand there. There are no chairs.
The lean rails are not to be sat on. They are to be
they are
leaned
not.
on.
They yell at you. They yell
I
at
got
you.
yelled at in China.
You can sit when you're waiting to go in, but you can't sit once you. I mean, I guess you can, but then you're that guy.
I don't think you'll get yelled at in the Canada Pavilion.
But if you do, that's okay.
It's okay. No, if you want to sit, it's okay. But we'd ask you to lean, please. Please lean. Okay, thank you. You can sit.
Mm-hmm. But the
can't
third
sit,
time,
they do yell
the
at
third
you.
time that you sit, they bring out the hockey enforcer. Then you're in trouble.
There you go. Marty McSorley's comes out, and you're fucked.
Hey, Scott. Speaking of guys named Martin.
Oh yeah.
Boom, boom.
Oh, perfect.
Nice segue.
Wow, that was
was
really
awesome.
good transition there.
Occasionally we get some good ones.
I'm sure. I don't know if Marty McSorley is Canadian, but I'm sure he is. He played hockey.
I think so.
Okay, so they redid the film. They updated it a little bit back when Epcot opened up the Canada Pavilion in '82. And again, you still had the same 9 cameras. You still had the 360 degrees, standing in one spot and look all the way around, so you can see where you're going, and you can turn around and see where you've been. And that same film kind of hung out and stayed in place for a good little bit. It wasn't until, as I thumb through here, about 2007 that it had the current version thrown in there back in September of 2007. That's when we got what we see now, where you walk in there and you stand around and you got black screens and you have voiceover from an off-camera. I guess they're all off-camera because it's a film, but you have the voiceover of a disembodied voice that starts giving you some bullshit, stereotypical, what Americans think of Canada facts about the country, and then he's put in his place by quite possibly the shortest Canadian on the planet, I mean, seriously, fucking this guy drew the a shitty hand because his name is Martin Short.
Wait, did he draw the short straw?
No, I literally I thought about that, but that's just too much alliteration. I decided to go with a shitty hand, Scott. It's Martin Short, which fantastic in inner space. That's all I got for Martin Short, really.
Oh, I love that
Pure
movie.
luck.
Is that the one with the Danny Glover? Yeah, he gets stung by a bee.
Captain Ron.
Well, I mean, that wannabe Blazing Saddles movie from Mexico was pretty good.
Oh yes, Three Amigos.
Three Amigos is probably the best, one of the greatest Martin Short movies that I've seen. Captain Ron was pretty good too, though, because
he was good in Father of the Bride.
Yeah, Father
I
Bride.
like this character.
Yeah.
In Father of the Bride.
Dave Coulier loves hockey.
Dave Cooley. You know what? Okay, this is off topic, but screw it. It's my segment. Julius, what are your feelings on Out of Control?
What do you mean?
Okay, Julius, we're done. Moving on.
Blank face.
He was the inspiration behind the song "You Ought to Know" by Alanis Morissette.
Yes, he was.
That I knew.
Yes.
I knew that.
Who's also a Canadian.
So speaking of you can't do that on television, did you watch that when you were growing up as a kid? Did you watch You Can't Do That on Television?
Yes, I did.
One of the greatest things to ever come out of Canada.
Yes.
Yeah, was Barth,
do that on
the
television.
school cook. Yeah.
Oh,
I wanted to get slimed so bad.
That was it. Yeah, I don't know, and then you get slimed. That, and I mean, You Can't Do That on TV was pretty much like the pseudo safe for work version of The Kids in the Hall.
Also Canadian.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I love Kids in the Hall.
Or the cooler version of Kids Incorporated.
Oh God, way cooler than that. My God, that show is terrible.
Yeah,
We've
you know
had some
what,
great television here.
Julius, you guys are kind of funny up there. I'll give you that.
Well, I mean, look, they've got Second City TV with
They had.
Yeah.
with John Candy.
May he rest
Eugene
in peace,
Levy.
Uncle Buck.
Catherine O'Hara, Dave Thomas, Rick Moranis, Harold Ramis,
Oh, Rick Moranis is awesome.
I
Martin
mean,
Short.
You talk about some of the funniest people have come out of Canada.
Is it because it's cold?
They got nothing
all
else
the
to do with
time?
making
It
jokes.
must be.
All right, so Martin Short in Canada.
Yeah, so Martin Short comes out and he starts taking you on an audio tour of basically you have all these grand panoramic scenes of Canada that you would kind of expect to see when you think of Canada and the Great North and things of that nature. You end up going up into the Canadian Rockies and you get to go see like the Niagara Falls, the northern side of it. And
The Canada side.
yeah, and you get to see the Enchanted Forest, but you
it's the
also
western
go
side,
like to the
Has anyone been to Niagara Falls?
I actually
Yes,
have.
I
Do you
have.
want to go down this rabbit
Yeah.
hole, Scott?
And
No,
I've
no.
actually been to Toronto.
Yeah, Horseshoe Fall. That is such a beautiful place. It really is. It does not get enough credit for what it is.
Here it does.
Well, yeah. Like most Americans haven't been to Niagara Falls, but it is absolutely stunning. We did the Maiden of the Mist boat ride. It's so cool, so cool.
So, but in addition to the Canadian, I don't know if you call that wilderness, I guess. You also run through the metropolitan areas of Canada.
Metropolitan.
Those things, which is a drink. No, it's a cosmopolitan.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Toronto's cosmopolitan.
Yeah, Toronto. You get to go to Van City because I'm hip with the kids. And I follow Ryan Reynolds on Twitter. Vancouver,
Also Canadian.
Quebec, Montreal. I know it's Quebec. And then at the end of all of this, because I actually think that the attraction's shorter than my description of the attraction. You end up, you get to hear the winner of Canadian Idol sing the song that we all know and love, Canada, Oh Canada.
I love that song.
It's
I really
by
do.
Eva, Avila. I don't
Eva,
know.
Avila.
She sounds Hispanic but Canadian. And, it's got a montage of scenes from around Canada, which actually you've already seen up until this point, so it just kind of keeps going on with montages around Canada. It's almost like soaring without feet in front of your head. And then after the song, you got Martin Short again to say, yeah, that's Canada. And the lights come on and you exit out the front because, like a lot of Disney theaters, you enter the back and you exit the front. That way it's just a steady flow of
back
traffic.
to Beaver Tails.
But you don't exit to a gift shop in this.
No, actually you don't.
you don't.
You got to like circle around or something. No, the gift shop's before the attraction, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, you have to walk by it on the way up.
Who wants to stand in one spot listening to Martin Short deliver a monologue while you're holding your flannels? And nibbling on your beaver tails.
I have to say, I love this movie. I really do. It's such a beautiful... it's such a beautiful attraction. It really is. Just to go through the scenes of Canada, to the music. I love the song. I mean, to me, it's not a must do, but if you're in there and you've got time, go do it.
Don't do it at the end of your day when you're tired.
No, because you have to stand.
There are 0 chairs except for what you wait before you get in there. Now, I wonder if they will eventually upgrade this to digital like they did Soarin', or if they're just going to leave it the way it is for a while until Martin dies.
Well, Disney has perfected a digital version of Circle Vision, so maybe. We'll see.
Well, then I want...
It's just a matter of time because the question at that point becomes who's going to pay for it.
And who's going to be the star?
Well, I was
Bieber?
going to actually throw that
No.
to Julius to ask him. Oh, Scott's doing a thing.
No, no Beaver. No Beaver.
No Beaver. But I was going to ask, and also, what else would you like to see represented in the film besides trees, water, a boat, buildings?
I would. So a couple things that I thought were missing from the movie. There's one curling scene in it, which is good.
Yes.
There's no Canadian Football League in it, and there's no baseball in it, which is too bad because we have a pretty good team here in Toronto.
And a good history of baseball.
Yes.
Yeah, Jackie Robinson played his first professional game here. Babe Ruth hit his first professional home run in Toronto. So there's definitely a baseball history here. So it would have been kind of neat to see some of that rather than just hockey, for the most part.
I mean, look, Julius. I mean, look, you guys are good at hockey. Let's get that out of the way.
We're all right.
You're good at hockey, but baseball is also big there. Curling is big there.
Yeah, curling is huge. To answer Tim's question, there are 2 people that kind of spring to mind. One, there's a guy named Rick Mercer, who just wrapped up a 15-year-old show called The Rick Mercer Report. He's from Newfoundland, and he is hilarious. He would just basically go across the country to do different events, go to different cities and small towns and that kind of thing, and just kind of report on those things, participate in those events, and he's a really, really funny guy. Another guy is so there is a show here in Canada called Corner Gas. It finished, I think it was on a 7-season run. It finished a few years back, but now they brought it back as an animated show. And the guy who created that show is named Brent Butt, and he's a really funny comedian. And it's a really good show as well. I would love to see the Trailer Park Boys host a show, but that would not be family friendly for Disney.
Yeah, probably not.
If any Americans have not watched Trailer Park Boys, you need to watch that show. It's on Netflix.
Definitely.
I honest to God have never seen an episode. I feel like I've seen every episode just from the different memes.
Wait. No, he was revoking all our admission to the 3 Seats Nation just now because nobody saw the one show he mentioned.
Wait, you've never seen Trailer Park Boys?
No, but again,
you have Netflix, right?
Yeah, I've got Netflix.
So you gotta watch it.
Oh, I mean, I've seen all the memes,
definitely.
so I feel like I know what's going on. Well, I got a question for you. You mentioned the fella from Newfoundland.
Yep.
Will anybody understand what the hell he's saying?
Yeah, he doesn't have too thick of an accent.
Because
he's all right.
for anybody that doesn't know that hears the word Newfoundland is when you think of an American redneck, that's kind of what you get from Newfoundland in Canada. I mean, it's a different language.
It's kind of like a Canadian accent with a southern drawl. Our southern drawl.
If it makes sense, it's got like the soft L's in it.
Yeah.
So like Newfoundland. That's how you kind of say words. Like if this is coming across okay, like that's kind of how you would speak it. So I guess it's almost like a little bit of like Wisconsin, Minnesota, that kind of thing, but maybe even more so. It isn't even the accent that'll screw you up, though. It's just the random words and expressions and slang that they'll use.
So almost like Yorkshire accents, or Yorkshire speak, like Geordie. So Julius, O Canada in its current form, Canadian, Phonadian.
It's very Canadian. Like we have. So I don't know what everybody's opinion is in the U.S. about Martin Short, but he's one of our treasures. Like, you know, we really love him up here.
How can you not love him?
Yeah, he's from my hometown as well. So like, I mean, I love him for that reason as well. But yeah, no, I like we've always celebrated the guy up here, and I thought that the video was funny. I watched the old video recently, and I thought it was a little bit dull. It kind of dragged on at points. There wasn't really that compelling narrator that kind of drew everything together, whereas this film has that with Martin Short, where they address some of the stereotypes, and then he kind of goes through and, you know, shows you a few different things about Canada, but also, you know, cracks a joke every now and then. So I really enjoy it for that reason. So.
Yeah, I totally get you. I mean, if I'm like, I never was able to see the old film because I only went, my first trip to Disney World was in 2000, but the old film is very much the, like, now what's funny is the second film was produced and paid for by the Canadian Tourism Board. The first film seems more like a tourism film. It seems like that, oh, this is us, we're great, wonderful, blah, blah, blah. It's very boring and vanilla.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say that was the whole reason that the second film came into play, was that Canada was kind of getting pissed off of how long in the tooth that first film was getting, and how boring it was, and how it wasn't creating any kind of tourism for Canada.
Yeah, they were like,
that's why that second film was made.
We're not the Norway Pavilion.
Well, you know, luckily, you know, we haven't had a Canadian Disney movie to take over, thank God.
All I'm thinking is Lumberjacks right now.
I would hope not.
Hey, can Pixar make a Lumberjack movie?
Eventually they will.
And Beaver Tails.
Yeah, and Beaver Tails. I do like this film. I really enjoy the play between especially the very first part, the play between Corey Burton, the narrator, especially when he says, "Fine, I'll go to France where they enjoy an invisible narrator."
Yeah. Is Celine Dion here? That's my favorite part. No, Celine Dion isn't here.
Everybody loves Celine Dion. I'm the greatest singer in the world.
You have to pound your chest when you do it. I'm the greatest singer in all the world.
But I do love Carly Rae Jepsen. I mean, this you know, might sound crazy, but I do like her. Whatever. That was a fun song. It was a fun song. So let's go through the pavilion and let's pick our ultimate candidate. So let's first start with the dining. So dining right now. Adam, what are you picking for your ultimate dining to add Canada?
The original, not the original
the original Le Cellier Steakhouse.
But the original Le Cellier.
So 1997 to 2012.
Yep.
Same.
Yeah. Mikey?
I've never set foot in Le Cellier, but if you could give me a good selection of what they have now, but not make it so damn bougie like it's Victoria and Albert's, then I think that would probably be better. I mean, you don't need to fix what's not broken, but I shouldn't feel like I'm underdressed to go in there for a sit-down meal in Epcot. I can see that at a resort, okay, but I'm at a theme park and I've been walking around. I got the Swamp Pass by now. I just want to go in there and grab something to eat and sit down and enjoy what's around me and have a good steak. I mean, shit, just like the Sizzler, casual like the Sizzler, but give me a really good steak.
Like somebody said they wanted to put fucking Outback in my Australian.
They did. I saw that.
No.
They got good bread. Their bread is pretty decent. I don't think it's Australian bread, but it's a brown loaf of shit.
It's
I
a
think.
bloomin'
It's
onion.
got butter.
So Julius, what would you like to see as for the dining?
My favorite part of the dining is the Grade A Alberta beef that composes that steak.
They are good steaks, man. I will say that. Even to this day, I had the ribeye there, and it was that's my favorite steak is a ribeye.
So do Canadian cows go moo? Eh?
Yes. There's an old joke. There's an old joke. How did Canada pick its name? They were picking letters out of a hat, and they went CANADA.
There's your cold opening, Scott, right there.
Yeah, there it is. That's the cold opening. Right
I've been
there.
waiting 2 hours for someone to do it, and that's got to be it.
Oh man, that's brilliant. God, Canadians really are funny.
Well, they are. He's like the Catherine O'Hara of podcast hosts.
Kevin! All right, so I think it's consensus. We want the original Cellier when it wasn't bougie and it wasn't 2 dining credits. When it was genuine food, genuine people, genuine goodness.
And the pretzel bread was delicious.
Oh,
It is.
yes.
If you ask for more at the end, they will bring you more, and they'll bring it to you in a takeout box.
Of course they'll bring you more. They're Canadians. They'll do whatever you want.
And apologize for it.
Can we send this to your hotel for you too?
Do we feel like, I mean, and this is like not even a Canadian thing, but do we feel like Epcot should have 2-credit dining at all?
Why not?
Why not?
I don't think anyone should.
Monsieur Paul is worth 2 credits.
Okay.
I mean, I would
Easily.
like to see
I'm just
to see Le Cellier go back to a 1 credit, and then find a way to put a 2 credit up in the Hotel du Canada, and
Oh, that's easy. That'd probably be your freaking what is it called at this
Club
point?
33?
Yeah.
Yep.
oh shit.
I think each pavilion should have a 1 credit and a 2 credit.
yeah,
Okay.
because
That would be
if you could have like
Tim? Shit, yeah.
if
Let
you
me
could
call
have
Joe.
a nice, the restaurant.
Hold on, I got him on speed dial.
I'll tweet
The
it.
restaurant in Canada is in the cellar, so that would be your 1 credit, and then do the 2 credit with those windows overlooking the lagoon, where you could have a view of illuminations.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful.
So we've done Le Cellier on the dining plan each time because we've gone down during free dining 3 times, and we've used our 2 credits there, and then you just have to make up a dinner somewhere else, and we usually do that at a quick service or something like that. So it doesn't bother me to do it because the steak that I'm getting is $50 out of pocket. So to me, that's roughly 2 meals at another single credit restaurant. So it's not the worst, but
When you add in the appetizer and the dessert,
Yeah.
which those desserts are really good.
yep, I really enjoy the creme brulee there.
Yeah,
And-
that's what I got. My wife got the moose head, the moose.
Yeah, the moose. Yeah,
I know.
I've gotten that before. It's good too. Yeah,
It was back when it was a 1 credit though, because that's when I originally had it.
yeah.
They had the same moose.
Yeah, and now it's 2 credits. I mean, I like Le Cellier. The 2 times I've been there, or no, 3 times I've been there. Twice were for lunch. I think lunch at Le Cellier is a very good lunch. It's heavy. It's a big lunch, so make sure you don't eat dinner that night because it is a big lunch. I had the Kobe beef burger, and it was incredible. It had the beer cheese sauce on it. It was so good.
So you had Kobe beef at a Canadian restaurant.
Well, it was their version of it. It's Wagyu. It's Wagyu.
Alberta Wagyu.
Yeah.
So all the beef at Le Cellier is actually sourced from Canada.
That's what they've told me. I've asked them, and
no,
that's what
it
they've
says
told
on
me.
the menu. It says on the menu.
Yeah.
It's sourced from Canada.
Yeah,
So is it frozen then?
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
I would imagine it would have to be.
Probably.
Because it's
Oh man.
so for me to drive to Florida, like so if they're bringing it via truck, that would easily be from Alberta like a 30-ish hour, 40-hour drive maybe. Because for me to get down there, it's a 22-hour drive from where I live. If you were doing it in a straight shot.
So this is
Without
this is
peeing.
some serious. This is some
Logistics.
yeah. There's some X-Files shit we've uncovered here. Adam's not happy about what he's hearing.
I'm
Well-
I'm
That's way
paying
too much
$50
driving.
for a frozen ass beef patty.
yeah.
Yep. Nope. Pass.
It wouldn't be the same as if you came to the Calgary Stampede and had it. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
the Calgary.
The Calgary Stampede.
By the way, we didn't talk about this. Country music in Canada.
Mhm.
In
It's huge.
maybe Alberta, Calgary area.
Yeah.
Very
Um,
big.
I'm
Yeah.
familiar with Shania Twain, Scott.
I think
I can walk the line like any man of
But
her.
do you feel like a woman?
only on Thursdays.
Entertainment. If you got to bring back one act to stay there forever, what are you bringing back?
Off kilter.
Off kilter.
Duh.
Yeah.
I've
even
never
gonna
heard
bother.
anything out of Canada for myself for entertainment, and I know everybody. I don't just mean you other four guys. I mean like everybody is like full on off kilter. You know,
Oh, yeah.
when you were talking about the Canadian folk, that kind of sounded like something I might like.
They're not
But
bad.
it's not there.
They're not bad, but like Alberta Bound wasn't bad. The Canadian Holiday Voyagers weren't bad. It's just not something you want to sit down and like. It's not going to make you like. It's not going to make you jump up and dance.
See, I have a hard time wrapping my head. And I know, and Julius, you explained it that the Irish, influence in Canada is pretty heavy, or is it Scottish? I don't know. They're all the same to me.
Irish, Scottish, both.
Yeah.
Irish, especially on the East Coast.
But so with the bagpipes and the off kilter and stuff, it was just like, oh, and I guess that's Scottish. I'm going to get in trouble by probably someone from New Zealand. But if I'm walking through
None of that stuff doesn't make sense.
Epcot
None of this makes
and
sense.
Go
I hear something that sounds Scottish, I'm probably going at Canada. I'm gonna be like, what the fuck, and keep walking. But if I hear something kind of folky, that makes me think of Manitoba, and I would probably stop and listen to that.
Manitoba.
Okay.
I don't know what's Manitoban.
Well, it's a lot of trees, and that sounds like folk music to me. He said Alberta Bound was a Canadian folk music.
Well, they are, but they're like, I don't know. It to me, Alberta Bound kind of blended too much with the like Celtic acts that were in the UK Pavilion.
Okay, Scott gave me a shitty description 36 minutes ago of Alberta Bound. So I'm going to vote for Off Kilter because
All right.
I'm a conformist.
20 minutes for you to vote for off kilter.
So one of the most celebrated rock bands here in Canada in our history is called the Tragically Hip. They're from Kingston, Ontario, just a couple hours outside of Ottawa. The lead singer of that band died earlier this year from he had a brain tumor, I think, or brain cancer. But they had been around since the late 80s. I would love to see a Tragically Hip cover band show up at Epcot for a while, just because. So they've toured throughout the U.S. and stuff like that too. So there are a lot of pockets in the U.S. people that do know them well. But yeah, I think it would be part of that edutainment part of Epcot if they kind of introduced American audiences to some of the really celebrated Canadian music that has existed here over the years. Tragically Hip would be a good place to start.
You know what? Tragically Hip Spotify downloads just increased tenfold.
I hope
Not
so,
from us, they didn't.
because they're fantastic.
Well, you know what? I will Spotify them and I will look to see what they are like because, hey, if Julius,
Is it anything like Hamilton the musical?
No. Which is awesome, by the way.
Like it. Oh crap!
Yes!
Not you two.
high five, Julius, pow.
Have you heard Weird Al's Hamilton Polka?
Yes, I have.
Hey,
Why
everything
am I not
by
surprised?
Weird Al is freaking gold.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
I just saw him in concert a few weeks ago.
Oh, I hate you a little more. I hated you a lot when I found out you were Canadian, but now I hate you a little more.
Wait, no, but this was like the B-side tour that he's doing, right?
Yeah,
So it's like
all originals.
Yeah, all the original Weird Al songs, not like the covers and parodies. So attractions. Last but not least, attractions. What are we picking here?
For me, I just upgrade it and give me something a little digital, a little current. a
So
little
our
new.
Ultimate Canada is it's off kilter. It is the current version of O Canada with Martin Short, right? And the Le Cellier Steakhouse. We just wish from the 97 to 2012. We just wish that they would update the beer cart, right?
Oh, without a doubt.
Because Julius, Moosehead Lager. Does anyone drink that in Canada?
Moosehead is kind of decent, like middle of summer back deck kind of beer. It's like it's refreshing. It's good, but I mean it's
a porch beer.
Yeah, but my preferences, for example, aren't really with like the broadly distributed stuff. It's with like craft brews and that kind of thing anyway, so I'm not the best barometer of that kind of thing. But
so if you were to upgrade the popcorn cart with a beer, what would you pick for a Canadian beer?
there's a couple I would put in there. So there's a brewery right across the street from the Rogers Center, formerly called the Sky Dome, where the Blue Jays play, called Steam Whistle, which is really, really good. It's a Pilsner that they serve that's really good. And there's another brewery in Toronto called Mill Street, and I find them kind of similar to Sam Adams, actually. They put out a lot of different types of beer. They put out a lot of seasonal samplers. They'll experiment with like fruit beers and like hoppy beers and coffee beers, that kind of thing. So that's the kind of thing I might throw in there, just to get a little bit of that variety, because you could do a really good flight if you were to bring in something like Mill Street, for sure.
So then one other thing that you guys are actually really good at is whiskey. If you were to pick a Canadian whiskey, what would you pick to put in that pavilion?
Oh, that's a good question.
Wayne Gretzky has a whiskey.
He does. I haven't tried it. He has a winery as well.
Of course he does.
So my favorite Canadian whiskey, aside from the one that I was having tonight, the Crown Royal Northern Harvest Rye, is from I think it's Glanbrook, which is not too far from Hamilton. So it's in like that Niagara wine region, and it is called 40 Creek. Sorry.
Oh,
It's
yes,
called
40 Creek. Oh,
40
I've heard of that.
Oh, 40 Creek. I've heard good stuff
Yeah.
about 40 Creek. I got a friend who drinks that like exclusively when he's going and getting whiskey.
Yeah.
He only gets 40 Creek.
It's really good, and it's one of those whiskeys that I think that a lot of people are kind of like, oh well, it's a small little distillery in the Niagara wine region. How good can it be? And it's actually really, really good.
I might have to violate NAFTA. Or wait, NAFTA's still a thing, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I might have to hit you up for some of that, because that sounds really good. All right, so I think we've run through the Canadian-ness of Canada, the pavilion. Julius, on a whole, totally right. Like, think of everything right there. On a scale of 1 to A to Z, how Canada is Canada?
It's pretty Canada. We definitely have a lot of really good representations, I think, especially of our outdoor culture, our English and French, our even Aboriginal culture to a degree, or Indigenous culture, whatever you want to call it.
First Nations.
Yeah, First Nations. The only thing that kind of throws me off a little bit is that there, aside from the O Canada video, there isn't a lot of, like, you'd think there might be like an interactive hockey experience or curling experience. One of those two things, most likely. Just even something small that you could kind of throw in there, and, you know, here's that. Like, I don't know if, here in Toronto we have the Hockey Hall of Fame, and they have like little exhibits and that kind of thing where you can like shoot a puck to see how fast you can shoot a puck. Just little things like that, I'm sure you could do, or because I've never done it, but throwing a curling stone apparently is very challenging because they weigh like 30 pounds or something like that. It's very easy to just like fall over and throw the thing sideways. And so,
well, you're wearing dress shoes on ice pretty much. So yeah, there's I want to say dress shoes. I think you're wearing band shoes. If anyone's been in marching band, that's what.
Yeah,
you're
pretty much.
You got bandos on, and you're trying to pitch a stone. So yeah, I can see that being challenging.
Yeah. So it would be really cool to have an experience like that where you can participate in one of those activities and see how well you do.
I would be totally down for that.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of the main thing that's missing, and a quick service. I think they would benefit from having a good quick service in there.
Absolutely. There is no quick service in Canada. Like, you can get popcorn and maple popcorn, but that's it.
Yeah. Either that or a Tim Hortons stand. I'm not a huge fan of Tim Hortons. I don't like their coffee all that much, but yeah, throw some Tim Hortons coffee in there and some Timbits, and
I don't
they already
know
have
if you get
Joffrey's.
Tim Hortons in there. When they've already got
That's true.
Joffrey's, you won't get
That's
Tim
true.
Hortons.
yeah, that's true.
Joffrey's closed in New York.
No, we have
but
Joffrey's in
that's a-
Orlando.
Oh, I mean,
There'll be a war
Joffrey's. What was
between.
the- Timothy's closed in New York.
Yeah.
Timothy's was a Canadian.
Yeah. It was a subsidiary of Tim Hortons.
I want to thank all of you for joining us on Three Sheets to the Mouse. If you enjoyed the show, head over to iTunes, let us know how we're doing. Give us a rate and review. It's the best way to find the show. We've enjoyed bringing the show to you. Let us know how we're doing. Give us a rate, give us a review, 5 stars if you like the show. If not, tell us how we can be better, because that's the only way we're going to get better. If you want to follow us on Instagram, we're over at 3 Sheets Podcast. That's at 3 Sheets Podcast. If you're in the park, tag us. Tag us on Instagram. That's at 3 Sheets Podcast. And don't forget to use the hashtag 3 Sheets Nation. We're going to make that a thing just like Trenton's poll. It's starting to become a thing. But if you want to interact with us, Julius, how's the best way to be a part of 3 Sheets Nation?
To join the Facebook group
Absolutely.
and to post your pictures of whatever you're drinking, because
Yeah.
that is a fun part of the weekend.
Yeah. Facebook.com/group/3
Who are you kidding? It's a
sheets.
fun part of the regular week, too.
Yeah, this happens Monday. I've had a shitty Monday, and there it starts.
Yeah, I think
look,
I've gone through about 5 beers this week so far.
The funny thing is, we talked about it with Daniel. Like, Monday was the off day. There's no off days. Hashtag no off days.
That's right.
But if you do want to interact with us, head over to the Facebook group at facebook.com/group/3 sheets. That's where you can become part of the 3 Sheets Nation. You can just hang out with us, enjoy the chats, enjoy the posts. It's so much fun. I think all 4 of us. Julius, you've been a part of 3 Sheets Nation from the beginning. You're a fellow podcaster. We've enjoyed having you on. So I want to really thank you for coming on the show and teaching us a little bit about Canada, and also dispelling some of the myths. Like, you're not all lumberjacks, right? you don't live in igloos.
Just in my spare time.
Yeah.
You don't have little beady eyes and big floppy heads.
Terrence and Phillip.
I
I
love that show. Well, I just want to thank you guys for having me on. I've been listening to the show since the beginning, and I do consider it one of the best Walt Disney World podcasts out there. But not just that, so I know I've talked to a couple of you guys about this on my show as well recently, that the community is just amazing. The way that everybody kind of rallies each other and keeps everybody going on a daily basis, and even if it's just going on and posting pictures of what you're drinking, what you're doing that night, it's just a really, really inspiring group to be a part of, and I really enjoy it as kind of part of my online day to day. It's a hell of a lot of fun. So thank you to you guys for putting that together, and thanks to everybody for participating.
So, Julius, where else can we find you? Because I'm sure after tonight, 3 Sheets Nation is going to want to hear more of you. Where can we find you?
Well, I've haven't put out an episode for a little while, which I feel bad about, but my my son's just gotten so active and rambunctious over the last little while that I've just been spending so much more time with him.
I feel you, man. I really do.
As a result, so it's definitely time well spent. But yeah, I'm hoping that within the next couple weeks I'll get back to it and put out a new episode. But on Facebook, I'm there at Storybook Radio. On Twitter, it's WDW Storybook, and yeah, you can find me in those two places. And I think that my show is on the it's on iTunes for sure, but I believe that if you go onto the Podbean app, you can find it on there as well, and it's called Storybook Radio.
So that's Storybook Radio. If you search it on podcasts on your Apple device, on Podbean, on Stitcher, go find it. Storybook Radio. It's a wonderful show. I'll still remember the first. I think this might have been your first episode, the Tower of Terror episode, right?
That was my second episode.
Yeah. It was amazing. The guy does a great job. I love your show. I love the ingenuity you do on the show, the stories you tell. Very, very excited to see what you come up with in the future, but we loved having you on. This was an amazing time. Guys, fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I didn't know where we
hell
were going.
yeah.
I'm always prepping for my end quote because I always have to figure out what the hell.
We're not there
Well-
yet. We're not there yet.
Yeah, Mikey ruined my closing remarks before by mentioning you can't do that on television, so I got.
I'm sorry. Listen, I grew up. Listen, here's a true story. I used to watch that on Nick at Night when I was growing up, and my parents came in and saw me watch that and said, "You can't watch." Literally, they said, "You can't watch that communist shit on this TV," and they wouldn't let me watch it, and so I'd have to find ways to watch it without them finding out. And I was like, I was living the title of the television show. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
It was, but I was like, but it's funny, and there's nothing wrong with it, Mom and Dad. It's he looks like a drunk, but he's making shitty hamburgers, and his name is Barth, and there's flies.
Storybook Julius, I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been a wonderful time. This was a fun episode. I've had a lot of fun doing this one. Closing remarks. We'll give you the first go.
Well, thank you for having me on. This was a lot of fun, and definitely my privilege to be on here for sure. And if anybody doesn't know Canada, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that don't, just because like if you live far away or if it just doesn't even come up all that often. We're a fun, quirky people. We do get a lot of the the same pop culture that the U.S. does, but I don't know. We're just kind of weird about some things up here too, and kind of funny about some things, and it's a whole different culture up here. So it's if you ever get a chance to experience it, we're nice people and fun people to be around, unless you're at Costco. But I have stories. But yeah, no. Other than that, if you ever get a chance to come up here and visit, it's a really cool place, and I really enjoy calling it home. As much as I end up taking all my vacations into the U.S., but it's a great place to be. But yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on, and definitely meant what I said a few minutes earlier about this being one of the best podcasts out there, and a lot of fun to listen to, and a great community to be a part of as well.
That's awesome, man. Look, from all of us on Three Sheets, thank you, man. That was that's a wonderful statement from a fellow podcaster that you love the show. So I really from all my other hosts, really appreciate that.
Because we can't talk for ourselves.
Well, I'm just saying.
My microphone has been muted.
They would rather me not talk right now. So yeah, he's right when he says
Mikey,
that. For
Mikey,
one.
I'll give you a chance. Give me some closing remarks.
Okay, I got three. First off, everybody listening, Storybook Julius is an OG when it comes to Disney podcasting. Okay, he's been around for a while. He puts like he said, it may be a little while. It may have been a little bit since his last episode, but he puts out good stuff. Listen to it; it's good. We talk about booze and debauchery, and he's giving you like the real history of Disney and shit like that. So listen to Storybook Julius. or Julius if you don't want to be formal, because or you can call him Miss Jackson if you're nasty. He don't give a fuck.
I am for
also,
real.
number 2, I want to say, Julius, that shirt you're wearing looks pretty damned familiar. What is that? Is that the Epcot 2017 swim team? Because the kid jumped in the pool in front of Figment and swam across it. Awesome to see you wearing that shirt, which is a great segue to number 3. Check out the magicalmeltdown.com. I've released 2 new shirts this week because I'm really bad about calendaring. So I just released a Mother's Day shirt that you won't get before Mother's Day if you order it right now.
You might.
You should.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, it's going to be damned close. It's going to be close.
I get my shirts in a week.
Yeah.
Usually a week or 2.
Yeah, we get them in like 7 days. Yeah.
And my igloos half melted.
They ship them. Okay, everybody go buy them.
Get it now. Order it now.
It's going to be tight right now, like a frickin' beaver tail. It's going to be tight. So you want to go to magicalmeltdown.com, go to t-shirts. You can check out. I finally have a Mother's Day shirt set up because everybody's like, you got all these demi-dad shirts. What about the moms? And sorry, but now I've got a mom shirt. So check it out. I've got an Animal Kingdom shirt. Everybody's asking. I've got your pineapple, your emotional support pineapple shirt. It's in the works. There may be 1 or 2 versions of it. It's coming. So that's my 3 things I've got. I just want everybody to know that a Canadian is wearing the Epcot swim team shirt, which hasn't sold very well, and people need to buy it because 1 or 2 cast members will see that, and they will crack up. And really, what's better walking through Epcot than seeing a cast member point to your shirt and say, I get it. That's funny. I was here that day.
I wore the Epcot climbing shirt to Epcot, and
so did I.
I can't tell you how many cast members thought it was funny.
Cast members, guests, we told everybody where to get it.
Yeah. No, the shirts are great. Love Magical Meltdown. I've got a few orders. Mikey, make that Incredible Mom a tank top, and I'm going to order one.
You can't get it in the tank top.
Did I not turn that on? Because I think I turned on the tank top.
Make it a tank top, and I'm ordering one. Because my wife only wears tank tops.
Are you going to wear it? Because I want to see that shit.
Not for me.
He already wears her pants. He can wear the shirt too.
Yeah, exactly. If you can fit into her britches, you can fit into her shirt.
Hey, you shut up about my pants because I'm wearing PF Flyers tonight.
You going to jump over the wall there, Benny the Jet? Is that what's happening? You're going to go over the fence and you're going to get your...
Get my baseball back.
Fucking baseball. I get that baseball.
Best fucking baseball movie of all time.
Best, yeah, absolutely. Best.
It is.
What?
No.
Give me some closing remarks tonight.
All right, I really appreciate you coming on. I've been listening to you for a really long time before we actually started this.
Thank you.
I always liked your take on the attractions when you wrote like those little background stories and all that. I really found that super creative, and I really enjoyed those episodes. I'm looking forward to hearing more.
Hopefully soon.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually, no exact science.
Soon. Yeah.
All right. As you can see, if you're a member of our group, one of our meetups just happened and is just wrapping up. So if you want to check out the pictures, see the fun they had. It was Brent's and Sydney's the unofficial meetup for their wedding, their honeymoon, and there are some great pictures already being posted. Also, we have our next meetup May 15th at Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar. That's going to be about 7:30-ish. And that'll be Tim and I. Our nudist meetup that we just announced and just created an event for is going to be on June 9th, and that's the Hershey Park meetup, which should be a lot of fun for some of us on the East Coast who can't make it to Disney all the time. We have the Sailing on the High Seas after that on October 4th to the 9th, and November 1st to the 5th is your Ultimate Cheater meetup for the Wine and Dine running races at this point. And that's about it.
I thought you said nudist meeting.
You did say nudist.
I heard nudist as well. And
when did I say
I was
that?
ready to sign up for that
The nudist meeting that you just posted today was the Hershey Park.
Newest. I'm sorry. I'll re-say it. I didn't mean to say it.
Yeah, look. It's not a nudist meeting. It's just a Sunday night podcast recording.
Yeah, if you show up at Hershey Park nude, I don't think this is gonna be.
Yeah. So I meant to say newest. Sorry. Trying to run through it real quick.
You got Mikey all excited.
Yeah, my dinner plates were,
He thought he was finally going to get some nudes.
I tell you what, I was like, damn, we're really serious about this seeing nudes thing. We have a nudist meetup at Disney, which I wasn't aware they had. And I was ready to pay for that wine and dine.
All right, so Tim, close us out.
I've been to Canada. I've been to Toronto, Mississauga. I've been to Barrie, which is a tiny little town, probably about an hour's north of Toronto.
It's not tiny anymore.
Really? Well, when I was there, it was 2002, 2003.
Okay, yeah.
I love Canada. It's a beautiful country. Toronto is like a second New York to me. So this pavilion, it's one of the probably most underrated pavilions, I think, in Epcot. And just give it some love. Just go visit it. Take the time. Walk through the gardens. And go see O Canada and Martin Short. You don't have to go eat it, necessarily, if you don't want to. You're not missing anything. And I want to thank Julius for coming on. It was a great addition to the show and gave us a good insight on how well Canada is performing in Epcot from an actual Canadian perspective.
From all of us here at Three Sheets to the Mouse, I want to thank you for making our show part of your Disney life. Thank you for your time, for this time, and until next time, so long for just a while.
And thank you.
That was a lot of fun.